Okay guys, welcome to another video. So last time you saw this one, we just completed the repairs on it and now it's all functioning perfectly fine. The trigger bar has been working faultlessly since, so that is all good now and all running fine. So moving forward from this then, I'm going to do something about this grip. Not a big fan of it personally. I think it looks terrible. You know, I'm just not a fan. I get why some people like it, but personally, it's not for me. So what I decided I'm going to do is I'm going to stipple this grip. Now, there are various different ways you can do stippling, and I'm not going to show you what I deem as the best way. It's just the way that I've learned how to do it. Again, I'm not a tech. I don't, have all the answers to all these things. This is just a hobby for me. But this is how I've found that I want to do it. So what I'm going to do is show you how I'd go about stippling this. Now, first of all, we want to obviously decide whereabouts we're going to have our hands on the pistol, because they're the bits that we want to make sure are stippled. Now, obviously, you can see having my hands on the pistol here, it is full size, so it's quite a large grip here. And pretty much all of it is going to need to be stippled to a certain degree. But obviously I don't want to go over the top with that. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm probably going to leave some of this section here. But the rest of this lower I am going to stipple. I am probably going to leave the HK45 marking though. It'd be nice to retain that if possible. So, but I want to get rid of this strange pattern they fit in it, which, to be fair, is quite comfortable, but just looks terrible in my opinion. So I'm going to do something about that. So what we're going to be doing then is marking out whereabouts I want the stippling to go. So I'm going to get myself a permanent marker, I'm going to mark it out quickly, and then we'll go for the next stage. Okay, so what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to mark the pistol out in the areas that I want to cut in. Now, this is the way that I've found to do it, is that you can obviously start stippling a pistol, but it's very easy to go over the top. And I'm going to do a pattern on mine rather than just a standard stipple. So I want to know whereabouts to start it and whereabouts it's going to finish and how far I go with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark out on here roughly where I want the stippling to go from and to. So I'm going to use my good old Sharpie here. It is a black Sharpie, but I should still be able to see it. Now you want to use a straight edge. I've got this old hacksaw blade here that I use for a straight edge, which is really handy for doing this. I've also got a bit of tube to use as a radius when I'm drawing around corners, because once I've actually drawn it out, I'm going to cut in, and I'll show you that process when I go down the route of doing that. So first of all, I think I've decided that I am going to go quite far up the grip here. Now, obviously, I want to just make sure this is nice and level. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to use this straight edge here as a bit of a guide to begin with and cut it along there. Now, I think I'm going to sort of leave a bit of a gap here, probably up to this point here, because it's very easy to go way too much when doing this, which obviously you don't want to do. So I'm just going to keep it across there. I'll make a mark across here. So I'm going to go to about there. And then I'm going to add a radius on here because I want it to go around here and go around where the takedown lever is. So I'm going to place the bit of pipe where I want the radius to be. I'm going to draw around that to get my radius. So that's roughly where I want that to be cut in, and then I'm going to continue that down here, and it's going to radius back the other way here, and then go into this stippled area. So that's that. I've marked it out where I want it. So I'm now going to start trying to cut in. Now, what you want to do by cutting in is you want to make your borders. Now again, you could just start stippling and then stop, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Stippling is just a personal thing. I prefer to sort of create an edge that I then work to or start from. Now, you can buy tools to do this. I've made mine. This one was an old screwdriver. And what I've done is I've used the grinder to create an edge here and then a file to create a channel. Hopefully you can see the point in that one. And this is a really fine one. And then I've made a larger one here, again, another screwdriver. And I've made a channel in the front here and then used the grinder to curve off the edge here. And that's made a nice sharp edge there that can cut in quite nicely. Now I'm going to start off using the small one. Now it should be fairly sharp. I have used it a few times, so I might need to resharpen it. So I'm going to get over here so I can try and do this while you can watch me. Now obviously I want to keep it nice and slow because I do want to keep it straight, and I'm not putting too much pressure in as I'm doing this. Also, I am cutting towards me, so I really want to try and keep my hands out of the way if possible. But unfortunately, when doing this, there's no easy way, so it might end up that I end up stabbing myself at some point. So, work over a little bit. Again, I want to keep it fairly straight if possible. Starting to cut in okay, and hopefully you guys can see what I'm trying to achieve here. So I've got my straight line there, which I've cut in. Hopefully you can see that now. I'm now going to try and go around this radius here. Okay guys, so here's the finishing of the cutting in. So it's taken a little while. It does take a bit of time, you have to go careful. So I've cut in this line across here, going around the front of the trigger guard, under here, around here. I made a slight mistake there, just nicked it a little bit, but it should be fine. Comes across here, all the way around the back. And I've also done around the HK45 logos and also cut in around the back here, around here, around that edge there, around the front, and also around the HK45 logo. I've started to scuff up this surface. I'm just looking to take off the rough edges rather than actually smooth it completely. You don't need to smooth it completely when stippling because obviously you're going to be biting into the material, doing some melting anyway. So what I'm going to be using to do the stippling is a soldering iron. One thing I do recommend when you do any kind of stippling though is make sure you still have the magazine in. Especially with a Tokyo Marui pistol, they're not made of any kind of glass reinforced plastic. It is just plastic. So this will be really susceptible to distorting when you are stippling. So making sure you have the magazine in will mean that the coldness of the magazine will stop the inside melting so much, but also it won't collapse in on itself and you won't be faced with a situation where you've got to try and file the inside of the grip out to try and make it work. So I'm going to change workspace now over to where I normally do the stippling, mainly because I don't have a plug over here I can use. So I'm going to move you over to another area so I can show you the starting process of doing the stippling. Obviously here's the pistol. I've got you a little more zoomed out than I normally do here, mainly because I need a bit of space to be able to get in around it and you're not going to be able to see it if that's the case. So it's ready to go. Now, soldering irons, I don't have anything fancy. Mine was about 30 quid from good old Amazon, and it has an LED display on here. You can see I've currently got it set to 250 degrees. And the type of stippling I'm going to be doing is a weave pattern, which I've done on a few of mine before and I have a bit more experience with doing. So I'm using a flat wedge style tip, and I've got it preheating to a 250 at the moment. Now, I've not used this one before. This is a new one to me, so this will be interesting. But what I'm going to do to start off with is just test it out on something else. This is a Tokyo Marui Glock backstrap. So I'm just going to use it on this to see how it works on the material, if I need to increase the temperature. Yeah, that seems to be the right kind of temperature for what I'm looking to achieve here, so that should be okay. And at the moment I'm just sort of getting used to the iron itself. Now what you will want is you will want a way of cleaning the iron off. You can do that with just a piece of paper or something like that, just to sort of clean the plastic off of it, because the plastic will get stuck on the iron. With a weave pattern, you want a line to follow, and I want it to follow that kind of line there. So I'm going to draw a line out on the grip to begin with. I can see it there, and I'm going to intersect it with another line as well on a right angle, just so I've got something to follow with, and then I've got a starting point that will work. Okay, so there we are. You see I've got that cross on there, and that will give me a bit of an idea as to whereabouts to start and what to work from. Now this is a long process. It will take me a few nights to do this. I could probably do it in a day, but after a little while, the fumes and just my hand aches and leaning over it the whole time, so I'm probably not going to. I'm going to try and sort of do this over a few nights. So I'm going to start off so I can show you it and show you how I'm doing it, and then we'll move on to I'll do it sort of in my own time, and then come back and you can sort of see how it's progressed and how it worked, okay? Right, so here we go. I'm just trying to keep this in camera so you can see it. So I'm going to start off here. Now, with this pattern, I want to make sure I'm sort of going in straight rather than an angle. If I do it at an angle, it will upset the pattern. So I'm just supporting my hand with my little finger, and I'm just going to put 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to rotate it to do 3 the opposite way. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to rotate it again. And again. 1, 2, 3. And you can see what sort of pattern we're getting there now. So now I'll start to fill in slightly. So I'm going to go from here. 1, 2, 3. We go this way now. 1, 2, 3. Okay guys, so my apologies on the lack of footage between starting the stippling to now. Unfortunately, I not been keeping an eye on my battery level, and the camera battery ran out, and I lost that footage. So unfortunately, I haven't got any footage of the rest of that. But you saw the process of how I initially prepped the grip, did the cutting in, and then started the stipple. So here's the end result. This is the stipple job we've done here. And you can see from where I first started, and I worked out from there and started to work round. Now, I really wanted to film doing the edges here because this is one of the things which people find really difficult. I tend to do the soldering iron at a slight angle from this direction, so the blunt edge doesn't touch the part of the frame that I don't want to stipple. But temperature-wise, my iron, annoyingly, once it's been on for a little while, it then turns off. So you're sort of like sitting there for a little while thinking, hold on a minute, this isn't working, and the soldering iron's gone off. So again, it's just a personal thing. I'll probably need to get a different soldering iron, maybe need to spend some money on one. Annoyingly, I did order one from the States, but I didn't consider the fact that only runs on 110 volts, and we're obviously 240 volts here. Plugged it in to a plug converter, and the whole thing basically was glowing red hot. So don't do that, guys. Use one that's specifically designed for 240 volts if you're 240 volts. Lesson learned. Anyway, so this took me a few nights to get to this point. Like I said, my main video that I did, I lost the footage. So initially I just sort of thought I'm going to scrap the whole thing. But I thought I'd show you guys. I had the previous footage. I thought I'd do a little video. I've actually shortened a lot of it. And then thought I'd show you the end result, and we'll do another attempt at this at another time. But here's the end result. You can see I left the HK45 logo open, just cut in slightly, and I cut in around the edge here and here around here. You can see there's a slight error there where the tool slipped as I was cutting in. You can see we've gone round here and round the front. Now, this type of pattern looks, it's not everyone's cup of tea. I think it looks quite good, and it's quite easy to make look good as long as you've got the patience for it, which I'm pretty good with that kind of thing. A lot of people then struggle when they try to get round the side to then join the two patterns together. And you can see here, this is how I've done it. I've sort of have gone the one pattern round to this side and then done the other pattern over it, and I just overlapped them slightly. You can see I've done the same thing on the front here, just overlapped slightly here. But that is the end result now, and the benefit of that is it gives a really high sort of grippy surface there to get hold of it. It's not slippery at all. If anything, it's actually quite sharp on your hands. You can actually see if I grip it quite tightly, you can see it actually does leave the indentations in my hands. So it is very good for adding extra grip. Obviously, if you want to be using gloves, that will also help as well. But yeah, there we go. So there's the stipple job. So what's next on the plate for this one? Well, if I'm honest with you, I've been trying to figure out what to do with it. After stippling it and, you know, doing a few little tweaks, it's basically where I want it to be. It's not my most favourite pistol though. It's quite comfy in the hand, but I don't know, I've just never really got on with it. I don't know, I just don't really dig it. So, yeah, it's one that I'm probably, to be fair, going to sort of pass on. Let it be somebody else's project. But I want to do something with it before I let it go. The slide is not in great condition, as you can see. It was very scratched originally. You can see there's some of the scratching on here as well. And what I've done is I've used some wet and dry paper and just cleaned that surface up a little bit. Same on the other side. So it's in better condition now. You can see there's some marking on the top here from being in a... So, yeah, it's come on some holster or something like that. So I'm probably going to quickly sort of sand that a little bit. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the slide. Now, painting a slide and I use the term painting, obviously, is not ideal because it's never going to be a long-lasting finish. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use some really, really thin coats of paint. And we're going to use a kind of paint that I've had experience of before, which does sort of eat into the plastic. So it's generally reasonably hard wearing. It's by no means Cerakote. And essentially what it is, because the Tokyo Marui slides are plastic and not ABS, I use quite a lot of paint thinner in there, which just sort of eats into the surface and really sort of binds it to the plastic. So I've sort of made the decision that I think what I'm going to do is just keep the frame black and go with like a tungsten grey slide. I'll leave the outer barrel because that will scratch up, no problem at all. I'm probably not going to repaint the sights. I'm just going to leave them as is. But yeah, I really feel like a tungsten grey would really set this off. I was contemplating masking up the stippling and painting the frame as well, but I think that would just look a bit too much. But who knows? I might do the slide and then decide to do the frame, but we'll see. So first thing first then, what we're going to do is strip down the slide. So we need to obviously remove the slide, which pull the slide back, pull this pin out, and then you can remove the top slide. If you want to know how to strip it, watch my other video. I'm going to remove the recoil guide rod. So I need to hold the barrel in place, push the recoil guide rod forwards, and that should release like so. You can see it has this sort of weird carrier, and this is sort of some of the things that Tokyo Marui do to try and give the plastic slides longevity. And you know what? They work really well. So that's that, and that sort of locks into this lug here. We're going to take out the outer barrel, but we're not going to bother with this because, I say, we're not going to paint that. We want to paint this. Now, I do want to take the sights out. I was kind of hoping that the front sight was screwed underneath, but it looks like it's not. It looks like it's just pushed in place. Probably bonded as well. So I could heat it up and get it out, but I think I'm just going to knock it out. And I'm going to remove the blowback unit so I can paint the slide without any sort of stuff in the way. So to remove the blowback unit, by the looks of things from what I can see here, it's one screw here, and then it probably, just pull the slide apart, and then you should be able to drop that out. So let's get this screw out. Make sure that fits okay. Yeah, that should be okay. Now I did almost secure a quite rare detonator slide for this. So there's our nozzle return spring that's just gone flying there, and the plunger for it. So that's good, that's still in there. This looks already new in here, so it's clearly not really been apart very often. Let's just have a quick look and see what we've got. Yeah, it's a very large nozzle. A bit of wear on the nozzle there itself. It's obviously been striking against something. Very flexible, standard Tokyo Marui. But no, looks good. No problems there. Piston head looks good as well. It's pretty much what I expected. Not really a lot of wear here as well, which is quite good. So might as well put that back in place for now, because again, we're not really worried about that. So that can go like that. So here's our slide. We want to remove the rear sight, which is just screwed in place. Undo our two screws. Now this little block has fallen out. This is for your slide lock, because usually the slide catches on that part there, on the real steel pistol. However, if it was to do that on plastic, anyone who's got a old Western Arms plastic pistol will know these don't last very long. So what Tokyo Marui have started to do is they've made this little lug on the inside here. It actually has this little pin that goes in the side here. And what happens is the pin goes in there, and as that the magazine is empty, it pushes this up, and you can see that lock pops up and engages with this lug. So, clever system. But yes, we've got the rear sight loose now. It looks like it is glued as well. Oh no, it's just pushed in. That's fine. So now I'm just going to knock the front sight out. I'm going to use one of these. These are they're actually for real steel pistols for knocking sights in and out. There we go. So there's our empty slide, and oh my God, is that light. Crazy, crazy light. Now, first of all, I'm just going to deal with this. There's a little bit of scratching on the top there, so I'm just going to sand that. So next stage, I need to degrease this down. And that should dry off quite nicely. Just remove any bits of lint or anything on it. Right, so now we're going to go into painting. Oh, so I'm back. Here's our slide. Now you'll see this is not the tungsten grey I promised you. As it happens, my air source is not working. So I couldn't use my normal airbrush. So I had to resort to other means. And I just felt like a machine silver would give just as good a finish, really. Again, I wasn't after it being perfect because, you know, it's not a perfect condition pistol anyway, but I felt that would sort of give it a nice finish anyway. So it's like a very satin or matte silver. I didn't mask up the ejector in the end. I sort of left it because I thought, wow, I'll be honest with you, I couldn't be bothered. So yeah, so that's that done. We'll obviously just get this back together. I just need to let this is flashed off now and is dry. I'm just going to give it a few more minutes just to sort of harden off a bit before I go sort of, you know, trying to force it to do anything it doesn't want to do. So yeah, we'll give it a few minutes and then we'll get this all back together. And then I should be able to reinstall the slide onto the frame. There we go. And there's our complete pistol. I think actually the silver slide goes quite nicely with that, to be fair. I don't think that really hurts it. It's more of a gunmetal-y silver anyway, but it gives that kind of stainless look, I guess. There we go. She works perfectly now. So there we go, guys. That is, at the moment, my completed HK45. Now, if you remember, I got this Boneyard with the broken trigger bar. I've repaired the trigger bar now, given it a bit of a facelift, a bit of a stipple job, painted the slide, and yeah, it looks a lot better than it did. It was very tatty when I first got it. So I think it looks better anyway. So what do you think? Do you think I've spoilt it with this silver slide? I think it looks better. You know, is it amazing? Probably not, but you know, it looks better than it did. I'd be half tempted to black out the HK45 markings, but I don't think I'm going to bother. Because there aren't any real parts available for this. This again is on the chopping block. This one is going as well, again to fund other projects. So if there were, you know, there was a detonator slide, an out of barrel available, that I tried to purchase, but the guy was just asking too much money for it. For what it was actually asking more than it was brand new. And yes, they're discontinued, but they, you know, they're very good quality, but it wasn't in the best of shape in my opinion. So in reality, it wasn't worth it. So that's why I've stuck with the plastic slide. But overall, I think that looks pretty good. So let me know in the comments, guys, what you think. What would you two do to it next? Maybe a torch on the front or something like that to complete the look. I mean, let's slap one on just for argument's sake, shall we? There we go, completed look. Yeah, that looks half decent to be fair. Nice. All working okay. Decocker works lovely as well. There we go, guys. So anyway, yeah, let me know in the comments what do you think you would do with it. Again, this is probably the last time you see this one, but any comments or anything you think I should do to it before it goes, let me know. And I'll see you guys in the next one.